This is Myra with Boutique Paint. Today we're working with some of the new IOD products. We're working with the bows mold, vintage brooches, spring melody. This is a paint inlay. And we're going to use white swan for our paint, and we're going to use dark and decrepit for the base. And I'm using a fence board. Now, you don't have to use a fence board. You could get a pine board and do this. This is what I had, so this is what I'm going to use. This is about, I'm going to say 18 inches. I just cut it. And so I've got the bow mold up here, and I used resin for this. I'm going to glue this bow up here at the top. And I'm going to use both a combination of white glue and hot glue, just because I want it to stick to it. So hot glue sometimes after time will unstick itself. And also because I'm wanting to paint this and move it around and stuff, I'm just going to put that dab of hot glue so it'll hold in place while I'm messing with things. And I'm leaving the tails of the bow and letting them go ahead and flow off the board. So next what I want to do is I'm going to stain this. And I'm also going to stain these. And I have a third one coming. It's just still in the mold over there curing. I am going to go ahead and use the dark and decrepit on the mold. Dark and decrepit is kind of like, and this is a DIY product, it's kind of like a stain. And it's a nice color. You could also just paint it brown if you don't have a stain that you could use. Make sure you get your sides. You can see how funky the side is on the fence board. I kind of like the organicness of it. That's why I like using fence boards, beside the fact that they're inexpensive. And I also, I keep a couple fence boards outside, just out in the weather, so that they naturally weather. And that way, if I need them for a project, I just cut that and I'm ready to go. And the reason why I didn't glue these straight on there at the same time I did the bow is I just figured, since we're using an inlay, it would probably be easier to do the inlay, you know, with this not glued on. So that's kind of my thinking. So I went ahead and used a hairdryer to speed up the process. And now I'm going to take the white swan and we're going to paint over our stain. Once again, this part does not have to be perfect. You do want mostly coverage of it, but we're going to also pull the paint back a little bit to have some of the stain showing. So if you've never used a DIY brush, they're very lovely. They're just very smooth and they're extremely soft. They're so soft you could use them for your makeup brush. I want so much paint. I got a little too much paint in the center there. I do want to get the inside of my bow pretty well covered. And I am using the pointed brush because it helps me get into these little nooks and crannies. But you could also use a small brush. So next I want to paint these. And I wasn't sure how well the paint would cover if I could just go ahead and do the inlay without on the first coat or on the second coat. It looks like I probably could have done it on this one, but I'm going to do 2 coats. Next, we want to figure out which pieces of the inlay we want to use. And I'm going to go with these kind of brown ones here. And I'm going to do a lamb. And I'm going to do this little baby chick because it's so cute. These are just so sweet. When I saw these, I thought, you know, and I might do this as a project, but black. And then one of these, I think it would just really stand out. And I may have to try that. See, you know, just because you have it in your head doesn't mean it's necessarily gonna come out. But, and most people don't think of black, of course, for spring, but I just think it would really pop in the black. All right. We're going to put a coat of paint on them again. If you've never used the paint inlays, you may want to pick up like the ones that have 4 pages. I think they're $30-something, and play with them. They're really nice, and I know a lot of people are still kind of afraid of them, but that's why it's a good idea to play. I'm just gonna set it right down. You get used to the transfers, and those are super easy. This just takes a little bit of figuring out. So you got to make sure that the grid is facing up. Next, what I want to do is I'm going to take a paper towel. And I'm just going to spray my paper towel. Because I'm doing a small one of these, I'm just going to spray the paper towel. And then I'm going to get our little bunny wet, the back side of the inlay. Now, I don't want to completely soak it, but I do want him to be wet. Then we're going to set him aside. We're going to move on. So what does getting the top wet do? It moistens the entire paper then, and it helps the inlay release onto your paint. So by getting the back of it wet, it just kind of helps the inlay release on the other side. This is where we have to have patience, something I'm not good with. We need to wait for these little guys to dry completely. And then once they're dry completely, we will move on, remove the paper, the carrier paper, and we will see these cute little sweethearts and move on. So our little animals are now dry. I'm going to take that same paper towel and get it kind of soaked down and just re-wet the paper. And you can see it's changing colors once it gets wet, so you can tell that it's soaking in. So now is the moment of truth here. And look how sweet that is. Now, make sure you keep these pieces because you can reuse them up to 2 more times. Very sweet. So I'm going to take that same wet paper towel now, and I'm just going to go along and pull back some of the paint. So some of the stain starts showing through. And you can pull back, or, you know, as much or as little as you want to, or you don't have to, you can skip this step altogether. I just think it adds a little bit of interest. You could also use the dark wax or the decrepit dust and go over the top. So next we want to wipe back our bow a little bit. And we're just getting the high spots so that they'll show a little bit here. It's a quick, easy way to get kind of a three-dimensional look going here. Okay, I'm going to kind of wait and stop there and just kind of get these pieces glued on so I can see how the whole thing looks. And then I can decide how much I may want to pull back and show the wood. So once again, I'm going to use a little bit of the white glue, and I'm going to use the hot glue. Do the lamb next. Okay, from there, I think I do just want to bring a little bit more of the stain showing through. So we'll just wipe it back a little bit more down here on the edges. So that is our project for the week. If you have any questions about any of the products that I used, you can go to our website at www.boutiquepaint.com. And thank you so much for joining me. Bye.